Right, so this is the interview of Chikonaz on his success in GCOR. Chikonaz, how are you today?
Fine, mate. Very, very fine. Thank you very much. How are you, Coward? It's nice speaking to you as always.
I'm fine. Bit dodgy as I talked earlier, but fine in general. Better not to go into the details about that, so.
Yeah. Anyways.
So, first question. You've had great success in the last seasons from you've competed in nearly every championship so far. How is it you prepare for races, like, in the coming days, since you have short time while others are practicing daily and yet you still beat them in championships?
um, I think I've got a slight advantage. Because like in the fact that I started racing when I was young. I started racing when I was 3 years old, 4 years old. On the sim rig, doing a little bit of karting. Doing some laps. So I've definitely got that to my advantage. However, it does catch up sometimes when guys are practicing day in day out. Getting into simulator. You know, and then I'm just there. I've got to take most of my results and most of my data from the computer. I only get in, 1 day of practice a week, whereas some other drivers are in the car, 3, 4, 5 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but really, I just, rely on, first of all, to finish first you have to finish. And as I said, I've got a lot. I've got quite a bit of experience when it comes to racing, so I do use that to my advantage.
Yeah, so your main reasoning is that, like, in races you don't crash as often as others do.
Nah, well, yeah, literally, I don't really crash. I mean, in this Gen 3 era, touchwood, I've not DNF'd in an actual race yet. And my last DNF in an actual race was back in 2021. I think that was Spa, which was like race 5, race 6, in season 1, Gen
Was that
1.
in the GT cars?
Nah. That was in the F1 2020 cars, like the proper first season.
I see.
Yeah, so it's been a while since I DNF'd, but some races when I don't have the pace, I'm just like, let's try to get maximum points. Let's do nothing silly. Um, lower the aggression a little bit and bring it home.
Could you put it down to the other drivers not practicing? Like, do you think they practice improperly, not doing the right things?
I mean, it's not for me to tell them what to practice, what not to practice, but I guess you could say maybe like they practice too much on qualifying. I guess definitely on the evidence of quality to race pace comparisons. I mean, some drivers are qualifying P1, but then in the race they fall down, fourth, fifth. Me, I'm literally the opposite. I qualify, quite poorly. My best qualifying position this season was P2. I haven't got pole in, well, it's been a season and a bit. So, but I've managed to get wins because I've gone through the field. So I guess you could say they could practice a little bit more on race pace. But with that said, they can do whatever. I'm just focused on myself, really.
Yeah, that's fair. Uh, in preparation, do you require teammates to supply you with setups, or do you make them by yourself?
I wouldn't really say I make them. I've got my guys. Obviously, there's the mechanics, and then there's some obviously guys on the internet as well. Now that Midget Matt has come to the team, maybe I'm going to rely a little bit more on him to help me with the setups. Ollie Freeman was a great teammate, but he didn't really, give me the setups. And when he did, it wasn't suited to my driving style. So maybe with Midget Matt now at the team, maybe the dynamic might shift a little bit. Maybe he's going to help me setup wise a little bit more.
So,
But
would that be
overall,
part of the reason why you? Oh, sorry for interrupting.
oh
Uh,
no, I had
do you
finished that.
believe that was one of the reasons why you? Well, I don't know if it was you or Mercedes, but is that why Matt is now driving for Mercedes to help you with that? Or?
I think obviously everything has its pros and cons. I think Matthew coming to a team that definitely, brings a big bonus. Obviously Matt has that experience of using multiple setups and will be able to do more practice. But at the time, I don't think Mercedes or myself really considered that. I mean, you know what they say: if it's not broke, don't fix it. And me and Ollie were doing a brilliant job. Now Matt's in the team. offers a different dynamic, and hopefully we can be successful together.
Okay, right now, third question. Well, not third, sorry. So, this one's a bit controversial. Who do you think is the best driver in GCOR apart from yourself?
What, currently or in the history?
You could give two answers: in history and currently on the grid.
All right. Interesting now. It's a nice question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
So, currently, okay. There are many great drivers on the grid right now. Obviously, Hurricane, he did a brilliant job last season. Obviously, he was leading the championship for most of the season, but just lost out towards the end. Ollie Freeman, I think going into next season, he's definitely going to be a threat. He showed great pace towards the end of the season, even bagging 2 wins. Could have been more. Walter Jr. I know he's only done one race weekend, but he's quite quick. But if I had to pick one driver, who would I pick? I'm looking at this current grid, and I'd probably say Ollie Freeman. I'll be honest, he's looked quick.
Okay. And how about all time?
All time. That's a tough one. I mean, I've heard stories about nading, mate. You've told me quite.
Yep.
But I've never raced against him personally. But all time, really, it has to be between yourself and Dino Bambino personally.
I'd have to say Dino over me, to be honest. I've only won one championship, and it was donkeys ago. So
yeah. So, and all. I mean, to be fair, you've shown great pace. You just got to finish the championship. I think if you'd finished the season, who knows? You'd be a multiple-time world champion.
Yeah, nice to see you try to get on my side here anyway.
No, but Dino, I think, you could argue he's the GOAT of GCOR. I mean, this guy's been electrifying.
I mean, Nading didn't really race in any competitive seasons. It was just one season against me and Nas, really. So
yeah, I mean, as you said, that was Nading, but Dino, he's not only is he quick, but he's such a cool guy as well. I've always said this, he's respectable. We talk quite a bit away from the track, and not seeing him on the grid next season, I think I'm definitely going to miss him. We had great battles. Obviously, we fought for the championships 2 seasons in a row. He came on top the first season, I came on top the second season, but they were both so close, and he's just a legend, both on and off the track.
Yep. Okay, so we're now on to more GCOR topical questions to do with the whole grid, not just yourself, as you are the owner. Mm-hmm. So there seems to be some teams, not saying any names, but whose owners don't really pay much attention when signing new drivers. Do you feel they hurt the sport of GCOR, or what is your stance on them?
I mean, it depends on their situation. I see some other team owners signing drivers which they don't know, and that's completely fine, giving drivers a chance, don't get me wrong. But they've also had that chance to bring in other drivers which would be less of a gamble, if that makes sense. I guess really it's up to those new drivers who have been brought in to really show their worth and show everyone that that they belong on the grid. I think it only begins to hurt teams' reputation when they bring in a driver and he starts wrecking the grid. He starts being a back marker, he starts getting lapped. I think that's when it starts to hurt the team's reputation. But yeah, obviously it depends on the team situation as well and what team it is. Like if GM7 Mercedes were to bring in a rookie and he'd start spinning, struggling a lot, it would definitely hurt our reputation. But if another team, with all due respects, if another team such as, I don't know, AlphaTauri were to do the same thing, it wouldn't really hurt their reputation as much,
Yeah. So, on to my next question. So, based off your personal statements and my conversations with you previous, it seems you are a big fan of the more realistic approach to GCOR. With in interviews you talk about engineers and that, basing it off real life. Would there ever be a time where GCOR could, if it was possible, swap to a R&D system with actual car performance? Or do you not think it's really possible with the games, how they're set up?
That's a brilliant question, man. Actually, I'm gonna expose myself a little bit. I was considering something like that. You know, when F1 World came in, I was thinking, you know, how could we sort of set up an R&D system? Because that would be, you know, definitely very, very interesting. And I think teams and teammates and everything would be so much, you know, more competitive and meaningful as to having equal cars. However, you know, the system would take so long. I think when it comes to money and R&D points, we'd have to definitely keep a big eye out for that, because you could, you know, technically you could upgrade your F1 World Car away from GSOR weekends, if that makes sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, you know, I've thought about it, but it'd be very tricky to implement. I think right now equal cars is still the way to go, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe in the future, and who knows if we even stay on the F1 game model? You know, maybe obviously Assetto Corsa 2 coming out soon. That could be an option.
Right. Finally, to end off it, it is known that you don't have a new gen console, of course, and it is believed that in F124 it will be swapping to new gen only, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
How does the future look for GCOR when that date comes and they fully swap to new gen consoles for you?
I think that'll be quite an uncomfortable day actually. Not only for myself, but everyone in GSOR. If it was just myself, I'll be honest, I'd call retirement. I call retirement. I don't know for how long, possibly permanently. And just, you know, maybe watch from the sidelines, maybe be a commentator. Or no, actually, I wouldn't even be able to be a commentator, would I?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
you
just have to
wouldn't.
be a steward. I'd have to be a race steward, I guess, away from the track.
Mhm.
But you know, it'd be quite uncomfortable if it's a 50-50 split between old gen and new gen. I guess at that point, we may have to stay on 23 potentially. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We'll figure something out. You know, I'm sure we'll figure something out.
Yeah, you would also have to find like new race hosts and just also probably find a new community because some other people are probably aren't willing to buy the new like consoles, are they?
That's true, but they are becoming more and more popular as we speak. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It's a tough one. It's going to be an uncomfortable day when that happens. But yeah.
Right, and that is the end of the interview, alright? I'm just going to
All right.
finalise this.
Thank you for having me.